Well, I think we can go ahead and get things started. Thank you so much for being here this morning, this afternoon, for this webinar about exploring the signs of progressing Alzheimer's disease and really being on the lookout for those red flags. Certainly something that caregivers for loved ones with Alzheimer's disease or other forms of dementia need to have in mind. So hopefully you'll find this webinar beneficial and be able to provide a few things to add to your tool belt, so to speak. So glad that you can join us. So uh, I will start by kind of issuing the welcome. My name is Nicole Goble. I'm the Director of Community Initiatives here at Caregiver Action Network. And I'm thrilled to be here. I do a lot of these webinars and trainings and am really thrilled to have Dakota Heath here. Hi, Dakota, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yes, hello. My name is Dakota Heath. I am the John Shaw Policy and Programs Fellow here at Caregiver Action Network. I'm super excited to be talking with you all today and just exploring those red flags of Alzheimer's and just seeing what they could be and what we could potentially do to prevent them.
Great. So I want to just walk through the agenda really quickly so you kind of have an idea of how this session is going to go. So we are going to start off by giving a little pre demonstration discussion and figure out just kind of lay some context for the training, go over some of the things that you may see, and ask a few questions. Because one of the things that we're really interested in being able to capture with these webinars, like I said, our hope is that we want folks to feel like they're walking away with a little bit more information and support in navigating their own kind of caregiving day to day. So we're going to ask a few questions. I promise it's just a few very quick and simple questions so that we can kind of see at the beginning, before we really dig into the meat and potatoes of the presentation, and where folks are um, with, kind of navigating their own caregiving. Uh, then uh, Dakota is going to walk us through the the actual module that's within Embodied Labs that really helps us navigate what some of these red flags can be. It's a really cool and immersive training. If you've been on any of the previous webinars, you've kind of got a taste for that, and it's really great. So that will be kind of something that we'll focus in on. Then afterwards, we'll have a little bit of discussion, some more questions, getting a sense of how folks resonated with the training, and again, going back to those questions that we asked at the beginning to see if maybe, going back and having you answer them again. Oh, I feel, that number, how I rated something has changed a little bit because now I have a little bit more information, or there's a little bit more now that I have in my tool belt. We'll leave some time for questions and answers, and then we'll do some announcements, meaning what the next webinar is going to be, and then we'll close things out. So that's a little bit of the lay of the land for this session. Okay, so Dakota is going to pop in the chat a link to this survey. We've tried doing this kind of within Teams for previous sessions, and some folks have had some difficulty with that. So we're going to try it this way and see if it's a little bit easier for folks to navigate. So if you can click on that link and just answer the questions, you'll also see these questions here on the screen. So we're asking about how much do you believe that you know how to deal with very difficult situations because again, we're talking about red flags, um, as the Alzheimer's disease is progressing. So we want to be able to answer and get a response to that. And then also getting a sense of how you feel as a caregiver, how self-assured you feel good about your capacity as a caregiver, how competent do you feel, again, kind of going hand in hand with that idea, and how self-confident. So really wanting to kind of get a gauge of where you are. And we'll revisit these questions after we go through um, the the session. So uh, we'll give folks just a minute here to respond.
See some responses coming in. Uh,
Yep, I see them too. I see them too. Very
looks like
good.
some twos, some ones, a lot of ones. Mo
Okay.
mostly mostly ones and twos. Some zeros thrown in there, which is completely understandable. That's why we're here today, is to see what we can learn about those red flags, see what red flags we should be watching out for, even if they seem subtle, even if they seem a little um, uh, unconsequential. It may be something that you should be watching out for potentially. So seeing all of these results come in is great, and it gives us a lot of insight on how you guys are feeling.
Yep. So we'll go ahead and move on, but just continue to take a moment to fill that out. So I want to just before we get into the module, I really want to spend just a second talking about what we want you to leave this webinar with because this is very important to us. We want you to walk away with a little bit more knowledge of how these red flags present and what to watch out for. Again, putting some of that information out there for you so that it can hopefully impact your caregiving. Some ideas of how to identify those red flags your loved one is showing, and how that may pinpoint or um, lead you to identify, maybe that Alzheimer's or dementia is progressing. Strategies, most important, strategies of how to navigate safely and smoothly through some of these challenging caregiving situations. And one thing I do want to put out there is that as a bonus for California residents, there's a no-cost access to immersive trainings through CAN and CalGrow. So if you have questions about, how you can get access to other modules like this, please feel free to reach out to us. There will be some contact information that you'll be getting.
I'll also be
As well.
posting a link in the chat to the self-guided modules in case anyone would be interested in that on their own time. Here is the link to that in the chat now.
Great, fantastic. I know that's definitely something that folks have utilized. So,
Absolutely.
um, all right.
So moving on. So I will jump in here now. Thank you, Nicole, for all of your insight and all of your words on what we're going to be getting into today. So as Nicole mentioned, we did previously do webinars revolving around embodied labs and revolving around Alzheimer's and dementia. We recently held a similar webinar on last month on the 11th that explored the impacts of Alzheimer's on the family and what we can do to better understand and work with our loved ones who are affected by this disease um, to make it easier on all of us. So that was what we did in the past, and we're super excited to jump into the red flags today. And I am noticing in the chat that some people are mentioning the Embodied Labs link. Yes, that is the link that is for California residents. I apologize. Um, but if you are a California resident, it is more than we would more than love for you to participate in that. Um, yes.
And our hope is that at some point we'll be able to extend this to other folks as well. It's one of the reasons that we want to be able to provide these webinars so that folks that are outside of the California space as well can kind of get get an idea of what these modules are and still benefit from them.
Yes.
But yes, right now our Embodied Labs platform is only open to California residents.
So now we're going to get started with the Embodied Labs training module. So, Nicole, I just want to make sure you can still see my screen, correct? Perfect. So we're gonna get started here, and I did just want to say, like with a lot of the Embodied Labs, excuse me, like with a lot of the Embodied Labs webinars and the different modules that we'll be going through, um, you'll be embodying a character. You won't see it as much during this, but at times their sight and hearing may be affected by their condition. This is intentional. This is not an issue with your computer. This is not an issue with the software. Um, this is how an individual with Alzheimer's or dementia would be viewing the world. As I said, in this one, we won't be seeing as much as that since we're going to be looking at a situation from the outside, from a care worker's perspective. Um, but all of our other Embodied Labs modules have had those instances. And strong emotional reactions are common due to the sensitivity of this information and how many people are impacted by Alzheimer's and dementia, their loved ones or someone that they care about. So seeing something so familiar to them can be really impactful. So we understand if there are strong emotional reactions and you may need to step away. Uh, moving on. So we're going to be exploring the living room of this individual with Alzheimer's to see some common red flags that indicate a person may need more assistance than they're currently getting in their current living environment. So we will get started here. And please make sure that your volume is turned up the entire way. I have my volume turned up the entire way. I will also turn on subtitles to make sure that if it is a little bit quiet, you should still be able to read it. Um, so we will get started now.
How are you doing after your operation?
Oh, I've been better, that's for sure.
Can you tell me how long you've been home from the hospital?
Well, let me see. Here's today. 1, 2, 3. 3 weeks ago, yesterday.
That looks like a good system to keep track of time.
Oh, I have lots of good systems. That's what you got to do when your mind starts playing tricks, right?
That's right.
So now, as you can see, there's different things around the room, and we're able to slowly move around the room in a 360 space and see different parts of her house that may be red flags, such as all of the unopened mail, or there's family photos over there that the care worker would want to talk about, the garbage bags that the care worker can see, the pills on the table that the care worker can see. All of these are little red flags that are being noticed. So what we're going to start with is the pills sitting on the table. And you'll be able to hear how the care worker talks with the patient, um, talks with the patient during this scenario and sees how they're handling the situation and how you may handle the situation.
Tell me a little bit about this bowl of pills here.
The pills come in the mail, and I just pop them into the bowl. They look pretty like that, don't you think? Makes me feel like I'm eating candy.
And how do you know which ones to take?
Well, that's another one of my systems. First, the pink ones, one in the morning and one at night. The big white ones with my meals. The yellow ones, the blue ones, the little white, I take those at night before I go to bed.
I see. And do you know what each pill is for?
To make me feel better, right?
So as you can see, the care worker emphasized concern about just a bowl of pills sitting on the table. And as you can understand, that is a pretty big red flag, as that can lead to some horrible, horrible mishaps. It can lead to her forgetting which one does which. And that's why proper labeling of medication is super vital for someone dealing with Alzheimer's dementia, making sure that they have a regimen whenever they're taking their medication, or making sure that someone is there to assist them with taking their medication at a proper time and at a proper cadence. So we're going to next go with her wheelchair.
It must be so hard to get around in here with your wheelchair.
I keep bumping into everything. Look at me. I'm black and blue.
Ouch. Oof, that must hurt. Do you know how long you have to use a wheelchair?
What? I don't know. Do you think I can read the doctor's mind?
So while that one might have been small, a good red flag there in this instance, in my opinion, is that sign of agitation. That slight sign of agitation from asking a simple question that she may have gotten the answer to previously from her doctor. And that is an early sign and red flag of Alzheimer's. Um, and a lot of the times whenever you're dealing or communicating with an individual with Alzheimer's, it's best not to ask open-ended questions or questions you believe could make them frustrated because, or questions you believe might not know the answer to directly because that can leave them frustrated for not remembering, and it can lead to them becoming angry at you, which obviously we don't want. Um, so we're going to move on to some of the uneaten meals that are on top of her piano now.
I'm glad to see your meals are being delivered, but it doesn't look like you're eating them.
That stuff has no taste. And they told me I can't have dessert, ever. Can you believe that? A little dulce never hurt anyone. Do you like a galleta? My friend Juan gets them for me, but don't tell my daughter Maria. She gets mad anytime I eat anything sweet. Tome uno.
No thanks, Rosie. You know you're supposed to cut down on sugar so your diabetes doesn't get worse.
I know. It's just that that stuff is so bland. You should have tasted my fried empanadas. A little pico de gallo, a little jalapeno salsa, a little crema. Deliciosas.
Well, if you want to spice things up a bit, why don't you try adding a little Cholula to your meals?
Good idea. Turn up the heat.
So this is another one of those examples. Uneaten meals can be a sign of them forgetting just to eat. So the care worker was doing her due diligence and making sure that she wasn't just forgetting to eat. And seeing that the case was the food being bland, she made a recommendation for her to try and spice it up a bit and see if she can make those meals more palatable and appealing to her so that she's actually more willing to eat the food that's given to her as opposed to a cookie that's going to make her diabetes flare up. So we're going to move to the mail now.
You have quite a bit of unopened mail here, and it looks like some past due notices. How do you pay your bills?
I don't know. Maria takes care of that.
I know your daughter lives far away. How often can she visit?
She does her best.
I know she does. But you don't want them to turn off your electricity because a bill didn't get paid in time. Do you have someone else that could help with your finances?
I don't want someone else. I want Maria.
Well, can I ask her about your finances?
If you want.
So in this case, the care worker notices a large amount of unopened bills, which can be due to them either forgetting they're there, not remembering how to pay them, as she said she has her daughter do them for her. So obviously this could be a red flag due to her electricity being potentially shut off. Um, Anything from her water to her heat, all of these things could lead to a worse health environment for her. So the care worker making sure that these things are being done and seeing if there's anyone else who can actually assist with these financial things is very beneficial to the care recipient, because without that assistance, they may fall behind and lose their electricity, which is would be detrimental to someone living with Alzheimer's, really anyone. But we're going to move on to the garbage that's accumulated in the corner now.
I noticed you had some trash out on your front porch, and it looks like things are piling up in here too.
I hate this mess. My house used to be so clean. You could have eaten off the floor.
Do you have someone coming in to keep things tidy? Do your laundry, things like that.
I don't think so.
It must be so hard to get around in here with your wheelchair.
I keep bumping into everything.
So in this instance, she's noticing the garbage and how much has started piling up. And due to her being in a wheelchair, she doesn't have the ability to take out this garbage, and she doesn't have anyone to assist her in taking out this garbage. And that's something that can be really, really hard for an individual going through these early stages of Alzheimer's. And just having that extra assistance and that extra support is something that these individuals need. And the fact that she doesn't have anyone to assist her in this instance um, could make her live in a more dangerous environment or a more unclean environment, which could lead to further complications. So I believe the last one that we have here to look at is the family photos.
What a beautiful photo. Are those your children?
Yes, there's my Maria. Such a sweet one she was. And there, that's my baby, my little Chewy. Not so little anymore. He's 6 foot.
Where's he now?
He got into a bad crowd, that gang. They got him in trouble, and it wasn't his fault, and they sent him to prison anyway. But he'll be back. That boy has a heart of gold.
I'm sure he does. And what about other family? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
They're off to a better place, poor things. But I will join them soon, soon enough.
Not too soon if we can help it, Rosie.
So the care worker there was asking about family photos, which in my opinion is a really, really good idea, because what this is doing is allowing the care worker to assess that red flag to see if there's any sort of uh, not remembering who these people in the photos may be, or some confusion about the photos, the faces, anything like that. But the fact that she was able to remember the photos, remember the names, recognize that they've grown older and that they have moved on. Even with her relatives, her brothers and sisters, she mentions that they've passed on. And with that, it shows that she still has her cognitive functions mostly there and isn't to the point yet of potentially having thoughts of her former relatives being around still or her grandchildren being younger still. Um, I do notice that there are um, some people raising their hands, and we will please feel free to take or ask any questions in the Q&A, and we will make sure to get to you at the end. But with that being said, we're finishing up now. So what we're going to be we're finishing up with the module now. So what we're going to be doing.
Thanks so much for inviting me into your home today.
It's been lovely having you, cariño.
I'm going to see about what we can do to get you some extra support. What are the top things you think you need help with?
I need help getting in the bathtub. I can't get into the bathroom with this wheelchair. I have to clean up in the kitchen sink.
That must be hard.
And someone to clean and maybe do the laundry?
Absolutely. I'll check on that for you. Now you take care of yourself. No more galletas. And I'll be back to see you as soon as I can.
You better take these. You're just as bad as my daughter, Maria. No more galletas.
Gracias, Rosie. You won't regret it.
So now the care worker is going to start their assessment, and I would actually like some participation from the crowd if we could. I would really love that. And to answer Mary's question, she was not trapped in the room. There was a way out, as you could see right there at the end. They were able to get out that way with the wheelchair. But we're going to start the assessment now. So this is a client capacity assessment. So out of all of you, do you believe that Rosie understands her situation as she sees it? And you can put your answers into the chat. Seeing lots of no's. No. Unsure, no. I'm seeing a majority of no's. So we will hit no on that one. Move forward. Do you believe that Rosie understands her choices in the choices that she was making? No, unsure, unsure.
Yeah, I'm seeing lots of no's and unsures here. And I think she understands her choices with food, but chooses not to make the best decisions about it. So kind of understanding um, what, uh, s- I get what you're saying there, Tanya. And then I thought that this was an interesting response too. Not really. She didn't engage on options. So didn't seem, it's kind of like when you are talking to someone and it doesn't seem like they're kind of taking in what you're saying. If that's what you're kind of referencing there, Susan, um, I kind of understand what you're saying there as well.
So I'm going to click no for this one. Do you believe that Rosie understands the consequences of her actions? No, no. And I would have to agree with you on this, especially whenever it comes to the bowl of pills and not eating and not paying her electricity, or not paying her bills. I feel like she really doesn't understand the consequences of what her actions may bring. So I'm going to agree with y'all and say no on that one. Do you think Rosie is consistent in her understanding? Lots of no's. There is a yes there, though. Yes, there's another yes there. But a majority of no's. No, it fluctuates. No, some topics yes, but mostly no. I agree with that. No, she goes back and forth like her daughter, doing the bills and helping, and then agreed to help as well. Yes, I agree that there's a lot of confusion even within herself. Um, so in my opinion, and it's what it seems like with a lot of you, it would either be a no or unsure in this instance. So I'm going to go with no in this instance. The confusion is consistent. I agree with you. And for the final assessment, we will hear, whenever we select an option, we'll hear Natalie, the care worker's verbal assessment of this. Considering all of the data collected from this visit, how would you rate Rosie's decision-making capacity, either high, medium, or low? Seeing some mediums, but a majority of lows, low to medium. We can listen to both of them, so you can get a better understanding of what both of these mean, and that way we can all have that understanding. So I'm going to start with medium capacity.
Rosemary definitely needs help with shopping, taking her meds, and eating a balanced diet. Let's set up weekly visits.
So something like that would be considered medium capacity. Here's what would be considered low capacity.
Rosemary is not able to take care of her daily needs, and her health is at a serious risk. We need to set up an urgent care plan for her.
Now, after hearing both of those, do you believe that are any of your answers going to be changing? Definitely low, low. Okay. It seems like a lot of people are giving a resounding low then. So uh, I completely agree with you on that. And with that being said, that will um, end this assessment, this module. Uh, and with that, I want to say thank you for stepping through that module with us. Very, very uh, interactive of you all. We loved all of the comments in there. That was wonderful. And thank you all so much for really paying attention to this and really being engaged. Nicole's gonna take a little bit over here, but first we do have the post-experience discussion.
Yes, so we're going back to those questions that we asked you at the beginning because we want to see if, again, um, some of those thoughts that you guys were feeling at the beginning have maybe changed since we walked through that module. And um, you guys were so amazing with your feedback and being super engaged. So thank you so much. That was really, really wonderful, and I love just the responses that you all shared. Providing a little bit of context for your answers too. Really, really wonderful stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we see those survey results coming in, seeing a lot more twos and threes now, a lot less ones, which we're super thrilled about, super excited. That's what we're here for. We're here to give you that knowledge, that information, and to make sure that you feel like you're equipped to be the best caregiver you can be.
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things to also think about as we're wrapping up and thinking about our final thoughts here with this module is that I want to go back to a comment that was made. It was made a while ago, so I'm not going to remember who exactly said it. But it was someone who had, I think, initially said, "Well, is she trapped? Because there doesn't seem to be an exit and there's stairs." One of the things about assessments, and especially as caregivers for loved ones that have a progressive type of condition like Alzheimer's, is that this is really part of an ongoing process. Um, Things change and things can change rather quickly. So maybe the setup that Rosie was in previously was, you know, um, working for her. She was able to get around. Some folks in wheelchair Wheelchairs may also have a walker if they're able to walk a little bit. So they are able to get to some spaces in the homes. There's a lot to take in terms of what accessibility within the home looks like and what some of those red flags that we walk through look like, because those things can pop up rather quickly. Um, and so it's really an ongoing thing, and being able to figure out, okay, well, what changes may need to happen if we start to notice, that those red flags are popping up and there's some additional concerns. Maybe she's not able to get around, or we're starting to notice that mail piling up, or we marked on a couple of things with the food, or just the decision making capacity. All really important things to kind of keep into mind as an ongoing assessment. So we're seeing this happen once, but it's something that will probably have to happen on a regular basis. Excuse me.
Yes. Yes. Um, Nicole, I did notice that someone asked about how do I deal with a mom? She gets totally upset when I try to clean for her.
Mhm. So, I think there's a number of different ways that you can approach this. One would be, um, kind of framing a situation where it's less of you, or presenting it in a way to where, I'm coming in and doing something not because you need it, because you're not able to do it, but because I want to help. I just want to be a good kid, help you out. So I'm going to, I'm willing to do this if that's okay. Um, Make them part of that process a little bit so that they feel a little bit more invested in, like, because sometimes they're being upset can just be a sign of, oh, well, this is something I did and now I can't do it, and I have certain feelings about that. So it can be complicated. So kind of gauge maybe where that's coming from, figure out if there's a way to approach it to where you're kind of navigating that um with that in mind. So again, maybe it's, is there something you want me to kind of come in and help with cleaning when I can? Sometimes it's kind of negotiating. I like things done a certain way. They like things done a certain way. So how can we compromise so that they're feeling comfortable? All of these things are things to kind of take into consideration. But again, if it's becoming a real issue and, any kind of help is kind of being met with resistance, then that definitely in and of itself is probably a red flag to think on and figure out, well, what can this be indicative of, and what do we need to do next? Because if they need help and it's not being accepted, but they need it in order to stay in the home, then that has to be the conversation, right? Like, well, we know that it's a little bit difficult for you to do these couple of things around the house, and it's really important that these things get done so that you're comfortable and safe here. And so we're happy to chip in and make sure that those things are done so you don't have to worry about them. Lots of different ways to navigate it. So again, really thinking about where that may be coming from and start to frame the conversation that way.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very well said, Nicole. Very, very well said. So we want to be respectful of all of your time, as we know that we're a little bit over right now. So we're gonna move on to talk a little bit about Caregiver Help Desk.
Yes. So a lot of you have shared a little bit about your own experiences, and stories. We really love that. It's really important. Um, one of the resources that I want to call out here is our caregiver help desk. It's our way of kind of giving that one-on-one support. So if you have questions, if you're looking, to maybe find out more about support group for yourself, because that's really important as a caregiver, that you're building kind of your own support network, or you're looking for supports and services. Maybe you're a long distance caregiver. Um, Maybe you want to be connected with someone that can provide these types of assessments. The Caregiver Help Desk is going to be a really great resource for you to utilize. The great thing is that they can be utilized in a couple of different fashions. You see the phone number here, right there on the screen, so you can call. Some people don't like to talk on the phone. I know that I can be that way sometimes. And so if you go to our website, caregiveraction.org, you'll see in the bottom right hand of the screen, you're going to see a little orange button that says Help Desk. And you can click on it and you'll be connected to chat. Now, I do want to call out a couple of specific things about Help Desk. Number one, this isn't a crisis line. So if you're having a real emergency, you want to be able to reach out to those emergency services, 911, etc. Um, it's not a 24-hour, 7 days a week line either. It's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern. I always want to make sure I get that right. And however, you can reach out anytime. So if you reach out via chat outside of those hours, it's going to send that as an email. You can call that number and you will get the ability to leave a voicemail. The staff there are amazing and they will get back to you within a business day or two tops. They're really responsive, really fantastic. And so definitely a great resource to utilize if you have those questions and concerns and want someone to talk to.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nicole. Um, so we're gonna take, I know that we're over right now, but if anyone has any further questions, we'd love to take them as right now. Give a few minutes for that. Questions on red flags. Can you post the help desk info, the text? I can't see the screen. Yes, I can. Actually, Nicole, actually, I might be able to pull it up right here now. Let me pull that up for you, and I will get you the link to the help desk. Here is that link. We also have our caregiver toolbox as well, which you'll find lots and lots of useful and vital info on caregiving as a whole.
Yes, and I see folks are sharing some additional resources in the chat. That is wonderful. That's one of the reasons that we love to have these webinars. Lots of folks sharing in the chat because there's lots of additional resources that folks have utilized. And it's one of the reasons that bringing together caregivers is so important, because we all gain from experience. Our experience in the experiences of others that kind of walk through things similar to us. And so love that. If you all have any additional questions or concerns afterwards, I think Dakota, there we go. You can always feel free to reach out to us. And here's our information so that you can stay connected with us. We've got our website. Again, that help desk phone number, the 855-227-3640. And then caregiveraction.org is the website. If you want to reach out to us with any additional thoughts, questions, feedback, you can shoot us an email at info at caregiveraction.org. And both Dakota and I monitor that email address. I know sometimes giving an info email, folks are like, does anyone actually read those emails? Does it go anywhere? We do stay on top of those. So you will be hearing from us if you reach out.
Yes.
And then our social media, Facebook is our main kind of social media, but we also have others. But we also have a Facebook group, and we post about that on Facebook as well. So,
I'll,
um,
I'll actually post the Caregiver Action Network Facebook group link here in the chat for y'all if anyone is interested in joining that. It is a place, a community, a safe and supportive community for caregivers of all backgrounds. So we would love to have you join if you are interested.
yeah, we have lots of conversations going on in the Facebook community. Um, Then we have weekly, what we call real talk sessions. They're on Tuesdays. They're really brief, about 15 minutes, where we talk just about a caregiver um, topic. And so if you join the group, you can kind of see those that we've done. So this is wonderful. Um, Thank you all. This has been such a wonderful, really lively group. We loved your feedback. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions, and we do hope that you'll join us for our next webinar in Dakota. Do you wanna give all of those announcements?
Sure. Our next webinar will be held next month. I believe it's the first Thursday of the month. So it would be September 5th, it looks like. So September 5th, we'll be holding another webinar. This one is going to be based more around social isolation after your caregiving journey ends, essentially. It follows Frank. He is a former caregiver of his wife who has recently passed away, and he's dealing with social isolation, and he's finding it harder to do things by himself, and he needs that extra bit of support. And it's just as much immersive as today's. So if you enjoyed today's webinar, I think you'll love next month's webinar as well.
Yeah, so really talking about when maybe you're caring for a spouse and when that caregiving ends, maybe now you need that care. Talking about some of the isolation, loneliness, and things that can pop up there. So hope that you'll be able to join us. There'll be some information coming out about that so you can get registered, but would love to have you there.
Absolutely. Thank you all again for being here. We appreciate your time and can't wait to see you in the next one.